everyone. Welcome to Fat 50 and Running a Marathon. Today I'd like to talk about fasting. What exactly is fasting? Well, I'm not a big fan of the old cliche Webster's defines fasting as, so for the purposes of this video I'm going to create my own operational definition for fasting. Fasting is abstaining from food, drink, or both for health or spiritual or other reasons. I practice intermittent fasting, and that term can take on many definitions. For me personally, intermittent fasting means that I limit eating between the hours of noon and 8 p.m. Lately, though, I've been following Dan Go's 3-2-1 program for a better night's sleep, so that means I usually stop eating around 6:30 p.m. If you're not familiar with Dan Go, I suggest you check out his YouTube channel. I'll include a link down below. If you're unfamiliar with his 3-2-1 program, let me explain it to you rather quickly. By stopping solid food 3 hours before going to bed, stopping fluids 2 hours before going to bed, and finally turning off all screens 1 hour before going to bed, you increase your likelihood for a good night's sleep. I've been following the program for a couple weeks now, and I think it's actually doing me some good. But back to fasting. Myself, I've never gone more than 24 hours consuming nothing but water exclusively, and I only did that once. Most fasting days, I limit my solid food intake to one meal that's about 300 calories. Occasionally I'll do 2 meals that are around 200 calories each. Most of the fasting articles I came across, even those that were essentially ads and not really informative articles, encouraged fasting newbies to eat maybe 1 or even 2 meals that consisted of about 300 calories before stopping eating solid food altogether. Each of the articles I found regarding fasting encouraged drinking lots of water when fasting. If fasting is something you're considering doing, I'm going to suggest something to you. Get an app that allows you to keep track of your calories. Then, without changing your eating habits in any way, shape, or form, simply track your calories over the course of a couple weeks. Once you have a good idea of how many calories you're typically consuming over the course of a day, why not consider maybe cutting that number in half and doing that for a few weeks or even a few months? Then maybe you could consider doing the 300-calorie meal when fasting, or depending upon how wide a variance there is between 300 calories and what your half calorie amount is, you might even want to consider doing a quarter calorie of what you originally were eating. That might be the better way to get into fasting for you. Now let's be crystal clear about something. I'm neither a doctor nor a licensed nutritionist. Everything I say is opinion only and not science-backed fact. Any radical change to your life, like fasting or even cutting your calories in half, is something you should only do after consulting a physician. There are instances in which intermittent fasting and spiritual fasting come together. Recently, Muslims celebrated Ramadan by fasting during daylight hours and then breaking the fast at sunset. But I'll come back to spiritual fasting in just a bit. Intermittent fasting, like fasting itself, takes on many forms. Some folks intermittently fast from food on alternate days of the week. Others periodically fast from food for hours or even days on end. Some from each group drink water exclusively, and some don't even drink anything at all. But again, for me personally, intermittent fasting means limiting the hours that I eat solid food between noon and 8 p.m. Now in the mornings, I do drink coffee with peanut butter in it. I also drink water, and sometimes I'll even drink celery juice. Sometime down the road, we'll do some videos about the coffee that I drink, and we'll do even more videos about celery juice. I have done some in the past. It's not very often that I eat before noon or after 8 p.m. My wife Nancy can tell you that I'm pretty strict about following the plan. Sunday morning breakfast from Mickey D's is my weakness. Spiritual fasting can be found across the theological smorgasbord. Islam, like I mentioned before, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism all have fasting rituals or ceremonies. And that's just the big ones. There's also fasting in spiritual movements like Santeria, Ekankar, Transcendentalism, and Yoga. Lastly, I'll mention Zoroastrianism, which, as I understand it, rejects the idea of fasting altogether. Now, if I got that wrong, and you know better than I do, and you know the faith better than I do, please school me down in the comments below. That's how we all learn. Finally, let's address some of the risks of fasting. First off, the distinction between extended fasting and starving oneself can be a blurry one. Furthermore, I'm the first to admit, fasting can lead to lightheadedness, headaches, and irritability. Some fasters also experience nausea and insomnia. If you're not careful, fasting can do damage to your heart. Less significantly, those who fast regularly are prone to getting gallstones. I had my gallbladder removed years before I started fasting, so I can't really address that one. However, as a heart attack survivor, I can tell you this. I won't go more than 24 hours without sustaining myself on nothing but water. And maybe somewhere down the road, if in a few years I decide I want to go longer than 24 hours, it's something I will definitely discuss with my cardiologist first. Thanks for watching, and please come back. On Friday, I'm going to try to have more science-backed information regarding fasting. Remember, only by taking care of ourselves first are we capable of taking care of others. Topher.